Hello. Today was a rough day. It was not one of my better days. It wasn't terrible, horrible day, but I started off. It did my intention. My intention was to focus today, and in the summers on Fridays, I have off from work. We work longer days, Monday through Thursday, and then we get Friday off. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to handle some things that have been waiting. And one of the things that has been waiting, aside from, doing like my per capita tax and all that crap for everybody in the house, was that apparently our transponder had stopped working at some point, and we started getting all of these bills from all of these different states, where we drive all over the place. Like, we drive Maine to Georgia, Florida, like, we go everywhere. So, like, all these different state tolls from, like, New Hampshire and Vermont and New York and New Jersey and all these places, and I'm like, what the hell? So, after, like, figuring it all out, I had to figure out where my responder was from, because I moved here from New Jersey. So I used to have a New Jersey responder, but I did switch it to a Pennsylvania responder. We got a brand new responder. And so that was the one that wasn't working. So after a whole lot of time spent on hold this morning listening to the worst music in the planet, it all got straightened out, and fortunately they took away all of the fines that we got for not paying on time within 7 days or whatever it is that you get. But it's still, still a pain in the ass. So this afternoon I had to go for an MRI for my foot. I had to sit still for 15 minutes, which, ants in the pants. And they give you a headset to listen to music. So she asks me, what do you want to listen to? And I'm like, oh, do you have any, like, classical, Native American flute music? She's like, no. Oh, first she goes, well, we have everything. I'm like, oh, I'm thinking in my head, I bet you don't. So do you have any Native American flute music? That's what I'm listening to right now. She didn't have any of that. I'm like, any Celtic music? No. Any bagpipe music? No. So I'm like, just classic rock, I guess. So, but it didn't matter what I listened to, because the new machines for MRI are so freaking loud that you couldn't hear the music anyway. I was like, y'all need to crank up the music, because all I hear is beeping and knocking. But anyway, that was fine. So we went down to this diner that's about 2 hours away that my mother-in-law really, really likes. And it is a very good diner. It is worth a 2-hour drive. It has very, very tasty food. And, but the problem is that we went on a Friday night with an autistic boy who is giant, and it was crowded, and it was an hour and 25-minute wait, which he did well for quite a bit of time. But first of all, we got there like 45 minutes before my mother-in-law and my uncle-in-law got there, which was a problem. But we found a bookstore to go to. We like books. So, so he was already kind of like a little bit upset. And so, to make a very long story short, I am not good in very crowded spaces. I am also claustrophobic. And the vestibule that you had to wait in had the worst acoustics. So they were playing this super loud music, and then even people talking with regular voices, it was so loud, and there was so much inputting, and I was like the world was closing in around me, and I was going to lose my shit. So I had the little beeper thing, so I kind of like went to a quiet space. And then I could see that my son was starting to freak out, which is normal for him. He flaps and he claps. For those of you familiar with, autistic kids, adults too, they flap and they clap. But he's, 6'2" and, like 280 pounds. So like, he's a big dude. So when he flaps and claps in a crowded space, I worry. And, the kid's 19. We've dealt with this, and there's a very specific way that you have to deal with him when he behaves this way. Sorry, I got interrupted. I forgot what I was saying. I think I was talking about Julian, and there's a very specific way that you have to handle his outbursts, right? And it has been the same way for 19 years. And unfortunately, not everybody in my family does it that way. And so we pity him and, oh, honey, don't do that. Oh, honey, it's going to be okay. I'll buy you a toy. No, you have to be like firm and, and from the outside, I sound like the world's biggest bitch, but it is the way that we've been told by the doctors, we've been told by the therapist, that's the way to stop the behavior. And it will stop. He will stop it. So imagine the situation. I am claustrophobic. It is very loud. It is, I've excused myself because pretty much every trigger that triggers me is going on now, right? So it's loud, it's crowded, there's this music playing so loud, it's hot outside. I've excused myself because I know that there's too much inputting, and so I've excused myself, and I'm not saying anything. I'm just holding a little thing, and I'm waiting. I look out the corner of my eye, my kid's, freaking out. Nobody's handling it the way they know they are supposed to. And so, finally, and we're still waiting. It's an hour and 20 minutes, and all these people are going before us. My kid sees that, because we have a table of 6, and it's a Friday night, and this is a very popular restaurant. So, finally, I'm like, listen, split us up. Whatever. Just I got to sit this kid down. I got to get him something to drink. I've got to, this nonsense has to stop. And so now I'm worked up because I'm freaking out, and not out loud, but just freaking out. And it's and everybody, by the way, is hard of hearing. So no, and everybody talks on top of everybody else. Nobody listens. Everybody talks on top of each other. It is the most frustrating thing for me. It's every trigger that could possibly trigger me all in one space. And so now I'm physically sick on the inside. I'm physically sick, and now I'm upset, because we sit down, we eat, but I'm inside, I'm shaking like crazy, and I'm totally freaking out, and that makes me physically sick. So, I excuse myself to go to the bathroom, and I burst out in tears. I have a total cry session in the bathroom, and I'm just crying because I'm trying to be light and love. I'm trying to, be this, greater presence, and I'm losing my shit, because I'm so frustrated, and I don't like these things to begin with. So I don't like crowded places. I don't go to crowded places as a result of my not liking to be in crowded places. I don't like to put my son in a place where I know he isn't going to be able to handle it. So I don't like to choose places where I know that it's going to be hard for him. I don't appreciate when people do not handle the situation the way that they have been told for 19 years how to handle the situation. Right? So, it's exhausting and exacerbating. It is so frustrating. So I'm in the bathroom. I'm having a mini meltdown. I am crying. I'm talking to my spirit guide. I'm you're not even there. This is bullshit. You're not there. What do you mean focus? Focus. I can't, and I'm just feeling sorry for myself. And I'm you're not really there. And this is all bullshit. This is just nonsense. All of this is nonsense. And alone in a crowd, right? And all of a sudden, I'm crying, and the tears are coming. And all of a sudden, I hear this song and it started from the beginning. It wasn't, it was a pause, and then the song started playing. And it was Time Passages by Al Stewart. Now, I know, you're thinking, what the hell? Who cares? Well, Time Passages happened to be my very first favorite song when I was about 5 years old. I love that song so much. They used to play it on FM 96, which was our local station. And I would wait in the car. I'd get so excited when my dad would take me somewhere, and I would hope that they would play it on the radio. And then, of course, they would always play it when we were parking the car in front of our house. And my father would drive around the block so I could hear it and listen to it because he knew I loved that song. And I would just sing my little 5-year-old heart out to Time Passages. And you never hear that song on the radio. You never hear that song on the radio. It's never, ever playing anywhere. And I listened to the whole song in the bathroom, and I was oh, that's my favorite song from when I was a little girl. And really, only my spirit guide would know that. And I don't think even Dave knows that was my favorite song when I was a little girl. Nobody knows that. So it comforted me. And, you know, like, you know, obviously things calmed down. We ate. The food is really good, and Julian really loves the food there, so he was very excited then. You know, I I have to be much more strict and much more firm with people when they make suggestions for doing this sort of thing, because I cannot set him up for him to decompress that way, because I can't handle it. I can't handle I can't handle the people who don't listen. I can't handle the people who don't hear, and they don't hear and they don't listen. The not hearing is not a big issue to me. I speak sign language. I'm around deaf people a lot. I don't mind that, but it's the not listening that is really more frustrating. And I don't want to be in a crowded place, and it's 10 times worse for him. And when we're both, like, when I'm not able to sort of pad the outcome for him, like, it just makes it more frustrating. So, you know, we don't do things like this very often. And I am reminded why. So I was like, we're not doing this again. As much as I love the food, we're not doing this again, because it was too much. And, but all my triggers all at once, it was so crazy. And I did try to focus, but it was really, really hard. So not a great day. Not a great day. So I'm actually recording before I actually write this out, because I don't know what I want to say. I think it's interesting that my first instinct was to think, well, oh my God, this quest for light and love is totally a failure. It's all a failure. It's all a failure. Instead of just looking at the parts, right? Like, okay, you went on a Friday night near Philly for dinner in a crowded restaurant that's very popular, that you wanted. They don't really have places for big parties to sit. Like, there were a lot of things that you could have chose differently, like going on a weekday, we wanted to go earlier, but I had the MRI, so we couldn't go earlier than we did. You know, making sure that all the people present got there at the same time, so that there wasn't, an hour-long wait and then another hour and 20-minute wait. Like, there was a lot of waiting, and Julian doesn't do well with waiting. I mean, he did really well considering he had to wait 2 hours and 20 minutes to eat. And eating is his absolute favorite thing to do. So, there was a lot of things that could have been done to prevent this situation. And then I could feel that I was like, the anxiety was building up in me. I could feel that, I was like, just like, enough. Like, and I think probably the thing that is most frustrating is that, the people in my life have been in my life forever. They know that I'm not good at this. They know that I don't like the chaos. I don't like chaos. I do not like farting around, right? You make a decision, you do it. If it doesn't work out, okay, you look at it and say, I'll do this better next time, but you don't fart around. Like, people who, like, it should not take 10 minutes to find a parking space. You look around, you park your car. Not like hem and haw and fart around and screw around and take 10 minutes to leave and 5 more minutes to do that. Like, just, 10, like, gotta stop at Wawa, we gotta stop here, we gotta stop there. Like, I don't like any of that. Just do what you gotta do. Like, do what you have to do and get moving. And, like, when I'm like this, like, when I walk away, because I won't yell and carry on. Like, I won't make a scene in public. It's not my thing. So I will walk away, and I will be quiet, and I will stand alone, and I will get out of this. I will remove myself from the situation so that it is quiet, and so that I can kind of try to build back up some peace inside. The thing that you shouldn't do is yell at me. Like, you shouldn't yell at me. Like, don't yell at me. Like that's not the thing to do. I'm not yelling at you. Do not yell at me. I am trying to, like, navigate around all these people and all these dishes and all this hot soup and all this stuff. Like, I'm trying to move a 6'2" boy who is flapping and clapping in the middle of a very, very tight restaurant. I am trying to move him. I do not need your commentary. I do not need your expertise that you do not have, right? Like, just move out of the way, and then we can solve the problem. So yeah, so frustrating day. Frustrating. So I wasn't light in love today. I tried my best. But it definitely, if anything, shows me where I have to work on. My inclination to working on that is to not put myself in those situations. That's why I don't like to go out. That's why I don't go to bars. That's why I don't go to clubs. Never was it like a big dance club person, never a big bar person. Why is that? Because I do not like crowds. I do not like to be in the physical space of other people. I do not like people in my personal space. Period. Like that's just who I am. I'm a very affectionate person. If you know me, I'm a hugger, but I like to be able to do that one. I do not like people that I do not know in my personal space, and I do not like to be in their personal space. So, yeah, so it was a learning experience today. So I'm a little exhausted emotionally, and I look physically exhausted too. So I came home and I listened to some good music played by a fellow that's online, who has a really, really great voice. And so that was good. And then I watched some videos with Dee Dee and ate leftovers, which was good. So overall, it ended up being an okay day, but, I'll do better tomorrow. So anyway, love and light to everybody, to myself too. Love and light. Be well.